Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Swimmer is a 1968 American drama film starring Bert Lancaster. The movie was written and directed by the Academy Award-nominated husband and wife team of Eleanor Perry, who wrote the screen adaptation, and Frank Perry, who directed it. The story is based on a 1964 short story called The Swimmer by John Cheever. This story appeared in the July 1964 issue of the New Yorker magazine. I have to admit to you that I had forgotten about this film. It's one of those gems that just flies under the radar. One of my viewers in Australia, named Kim, brought it to my attention that I should do a video on it. And my immediate response was, I can't believe I haven't done one already. So we have Kim to thank for this video about The Swimmer. It's the story of Ned Merrill, played by Bert Lancaster, and without a doubt, this is one of his most impressive performances of his entire career. Ned's summer accumulates in a trip through various neighborhood pools until reaching his own home at the end, all taking place in large, affluent county mansions. It's a story about disappointment on the surface. Underneath, Ned represents the death of the American dream. The director takes the audience on a surreal journey through the lifestyles of the rich and bored, the sort of people who only seem to complain about their hangover from last night's binge or to talk about their material possessions. Initially, Ned appears to be part of that world. Quickly, both he and the audience come to discover that while the liquor's been drunk and the parties have raged on, the fleeting American dream has eluded him completely. By the end of the movie, he literally stands at the foot of his broken dreams after he encounters a surrealist voyage through time and space. In the beginning, the water is cool and fresh, and the day is just beautiful. He takes it all in. As he has drinks with his friends, it occurs to him that a string of other backyard pools reach all the way across the valley to his house. He decides, what a great idea to swim from one to the other all the way home. It sounds like a glorious adventure, and indeed it starts that way. He even meets a lovely girl who agrees to come along the journey with him. Some of the pool owners are happy to see him, others hate him. One is a bitter young woman who loved him once. We learn all sorts of facts about this man's life at every poolside, until we are able to piece together the story of his life and his disgrace and failure. The movie starts as a perfectly realistic film, but somewhere along the way, we realize that it's an allegory, and the ending makes this blatantly clear. Bert Lancaster pauses beside each pool. His conversations with the owners sound real enough, yet somehow they are very stiff, very correct, as if everybody were reading lines or this were a dream. The photography in the film contributes to this feeling. It's really beautiful, but it's not joyful. It has the same nostalgic feel as viewing snapshots from an old photo album. Every moment, we have the feeling that something tragic has already happened to these people that we see smiling all the time. And of course, something has. The main topic of conversation seems to be last night's drunk and how each of them are paying for it this morning. Their only talk concerns material possessions or a show of interest in what that person does for a living. We find out that Ned used to own a Jaguar. In a later scene, one man talks about how he and his wife would order expensive French jams from their store. During a large party scene, the guests eat caviar out of a massive dish, the way that most of us would eat tortilla chips with salsa. In one scene, Ned meets up with a former babysitter named Julie that he employed to babysit his kids. She ends up accompanying him on his swim. That is, until he makes a move to kiss her, after which she runs off in fright. This is a crushing symbol of his faded youth. No longer is he the studly young man that he once was. An even more obvious bit of symbolism is an earlier encounter with a horse in an open field. Ned challenges the horse to a race. He obviously doesn't win, but it's the idea of him trying to stay youthful, strong enough to race a horse. Prior to making the film, Bert Lancaster, despite already being pretty athletic, had somewhat of a fear of water. He took lessons from an Olympian and a UCLA water polo coach named Bob Horn. He continuously worked out through the entire production of the film in order to maintain a high level of fitness during its shoot. He gained about 20 pounds of muscle doing weights, running, karate, and aerobics. The critical response to the film was mixed, but the critics were unanimous on one thing, and that was the praise of Bert Lancaster's physique and his performance. You see, he was 52 at the time of filming. He looks amazing. It's been said that William Holden was the first choice for this lead, but Holden turned it down, as did Glenn Ford, Paul Newman, and George C. Scott. The wardrobe for Bert Lancaster in this film was a piece of cake. It consisted only of 17 identical pairs of blue nylon swimming trunks. Now, there's a documentary that's actually longer than the film itself, and it's called The Story of the Swimmer. It was released, I think, in about 2014, and it was directed by Chris Ennis. I can't find it anywhere online to where you can stream it, but I think it's available in DVD. After the first screening of the film, The Rough Cut, Sidney Pollack replaced director Frank Perry. Even though Perry received credit for the film's direction for contractual reasons, it's allegedly been said that Perry didn't finish directing the film because of creative differences. He was fired by the producer Sam Spiegel. The producers immediately brought in Lancaster's friend, the young director Sidney Pollack, and they started reshooting some scenes that had already been shot. The biggest replacement of the film was that of Barbara Loden. She was replaced by Janice Rule, which was a real important character in the film. They threw out all of Barbara's shots and filmed new ones with Janice Rule in her place. Janice Rule sets the screen on fire. She does an excellent job in her portrayal of Ned's mistress. But the interesting thing that I find about Janice Rule is that in the 1960s, she became really interested in psychoanalysis. She began her formal studies in 1973, specializing in treatment of her fellow actors. She received her PhD 10 years later from Southern California Psychoanalytic Institute in Los Angeles, where she then practiced on both coasts in New York and LA, and she occasionally did some acting in her spare time. Janice died in 2003 from a cerebral hemorrhage. If you've never seen this movie, do yourself a favor and take the time to watch it. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.